evening. It's Friday evening, and it's your usual dose of Sid Says. Hope you've had a lovely week. Transfer window is finished. We can all forget about this transfer window. Just sit back now and debate, argue, mourn, whatever you want to do about the last 2.5 months of the transfer window. Joining me tonight, as always, on this Friday evening is the main man himself at Sam Spurs for life. Good evening, Sam. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Sid. Very well. Transfer window's closed. Let's get on with the season now. We know what we've got and we know what we need to do. So let's get on with it.
Absolutely. Do you know what? Everyone's been going absolutely mental. And I think a few people said yesterday, and I think Expression said it as well, but I'm not bothered about Expressions and everybody else. But we sort of knew it. It was going to be the last day of the transfer window. Harry Redknapp's not at the helm, so we was never, ever going to see a last-minute deal. I know one name was thrown in at the very last minute, a player that I'd never heard of, to be fair, but we sort of knew. We've discussed this prior, and we did say that as far as Tottenham Hotspur are concerned, I think the window was finished. We will discuss, obviously, the ins and outs, what Conte's got to say about this window. But most importantly, I want to welcome everyone joining us today, whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, wherever. Thank you very much for joining us. Please subscribe to our channel, follow us, and obviously, like I said, like, subscribe, and follow to our wonderful channel, because there's loads and loads of stuff coming up. And that's all I can say. However, I do want your opinions as well, because I know, like me and like Sam and the rest of the Paxton Road TV bunch, you've all had your says about this window. Was you satisfied with the window ending the way it ended? Are you happy with this 8 players that we bought in and the 564,300 players we've only loaned out? Did you want to see somebody in particular? What position hasn't been filled that should have been filled? These are all the questions that we're going to discuss today, and also some interesting things that Conte's been saying in his interviews as well. So before we move on, Sam, what is your initial reaction to this window and the way it ended?
Okay, so my overall thoughts on the window itself. Okay, so we did a lot of business early doors, stuff that we haven't seen Spurs do. We saw the likes of Perisic come in. You know, we see who else came in at that very first few weeks. Perisic. Then we saw Basuma come in. Yeah, and he was getting a bit giddy. You know, and then we said, these players. And obviously we had the Longlet come in a bit later. Spence come in, the Aduji deal as well. My thing is, a lot of these players, yes, Richarlison, the one that came in as well, but he came in pretty much pre-season as well. So we've got all these players, and at that time, we've got a lot of things sorted out. We was obviously skeptical about this centre-back, you know, just in case, you know, Dyer was to get injured. I know Dyer's not the long-term preferred for a lot of people, but he's certainly the glue at the moment because of his leadership. But if you're telling me we can do better than Dyer, of course we can. And we were looking at Bastoni and all these, you know, Guardiola and all these other names that came up. But I was still happy with what we'd got because it's improved our team. But my biggest thing, Sid, is I haven't seen enough of these players at the moment to know whether or not they're good enough. Conte may be coming out and saying, yeah, Spence is not really his choice in terms of for now, in terms of winning now. But surely we've seen players get game time that we don't think are good enough. How come we ain't getting these players get a chance? We've only seen Perisic really come in, and he was almost a guarantee to come in. I thought Basuma was almost a guarantee. We've only seen bits and pieces. Richarlison, every time he's been on, has done bits. So I'm still jury's out because we ain't seen these players play. I still think it's a good window. I'd give it a 7. But it could be better if we know that these players can cope with what we know is the demands coming up.
Yeah. You know, I agree with you. Everything you've said, and we'll touch on to some of the players not getting game time, etc., and also what Conte has been saying about certain players in the window as well. But before we move on, let's just say a quick good evening to Dino Dinosaur, Kevin Murray, JC's in the house, David Clark's in the house, Tottenham Andy's in the house, many more in the house. All I need, you guys and ladies, whoever's watching, please smash that like button. That's it. Just smash the like button and we continue. You can continue. It'll take you 1 second. Just 1 second. Like the video. That's it. Like. Because it's sweet like chocolate. You know, it's sweet. Right. So
so just before we move on, people are losing their minds. We've got obviously a very divided fan base. I kind of said, you know what I mean? If we get the right players, it didn't matter what we spend. We pushed the boat out to get Richarlison. Now, a lot of people before the deal were saying Richarlison or Jesus. It was a toss-up. Some people were saying, even Arsenal fans were saying they'd rather have Richarlison. Some people saying they'd rather have Jesus. We got one of them. Do you know what I mean? We paid pretty much near enough 50, 60 million for that player. So he was a player that definitely was wanted. Conte can't say that he didn't want that player unless he comes out afterwards and said, oh, that was a waste of money. I didn't really want Richarlison, but the club wanted to pay 60 million. I don't think so. Because if that was the case, he would have probably stamped his feet a lot more earlier, a lot sooner than this. So again, we've got players who other teams are looking at and thinking, bloody hell, they've got some good signings. Bissouma, I talked about him. Richarlison already, we've talked about him as well. Spence, he was a talk of the town. He was a talk of the town come the end of last season because of his performances. We ain't seen him.
Right. I agree with you. And the thing is as well, on Twitter, on everywhere else, on social media, fans, some, maybe majority, I don't know, are losing their minds, right? A lot of them are saying shit window, you know, could have done this, could have done that, could have done that. Now, going into this window, we already bought Kulusevski, we bought Bentancur, right? And the way them two have played, I think fans were expecting more to come in, and especially the way we started this summer window with Perisic coming in, Foster coming in. Everyone then thought, do you know what? Here we go. We're on a roll. Now, for me, we went in there and Conte said, and he stipulated, I want my transfer window done. I want my players in as soon as possible. A, I want to take them to pre-season. B, I want them to be match fit when the season starts. Now, we discussed this many times before, and we said some of these players, are they panic buys? Are they PRTv buys? Are they Daniel Levy saying, you know what, they're cheap options. I can get these and I can shut up Conte and PRTv and say, look, I bought you players and I've shut up the fans. Were they the quality players that we need, right? Are they the players that we wanted? All these questions, right? You remember the TV series Soap back in the days?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. This is the kind of stuff like this, isn't it? Did we get what we wanted? Are we happy with who we got? Did Conte want these players? Stay tuned for the next episode, right? Kind of thing. So now it's finished. People have voiced their opinions. People have said this player's not good enough. Exactly what you said, Sam. Richarlison, Jesus debate, right? Perisic, other players' debates are still going. I've seen today about Foster. People are complaining that we've got a player who's always going to be a bench warmer in Foster. We should have gone and got Pope for 10 million. Pope would have come and kept the bench for me, in my opinion, because Lloris is not going to get dropped. So Pope would have been in the same situation for me as Foster would have been, or any other goalkeeper that comes to Spurs. Lloris is number one. He ain't going to get dropped, right? That's my opinion. I'm going to go to the comments in a section in a minute as well. In the comment section, there's a lot of people putting stuff on there, so I'll go in there and I'll speak to what people are saying about that as well. However, just before we go on to what people have said, these are the 7 signings that we've bought, right? Well, 8. So, okay, here we go. So, for the people that haven't got access to the screens, so we've bought in Richarlison, we bought in Bissouma, we bought in Spence, we bought in Perisic, we bought in Foster, we bought in Lenglet, we bought Christian Romero, although we already bought him, we bought him. Destiny Udogie, we bought in. Richarlison was 60 million. Evan Perisic was free. Jed Spence was 20 million. Foster was free. Bissouma was, if I'm correct, 25 million. Yeah. Lenglet's on loan. Udogie's 15 million. And Christian Romero's deal is 42 million pounds in total as we speak. Now, looking at these 8 players that we've bought. Number one, 2 questions for yourself. Are these the players that we needed? And secondly, are these the players that are gonna get us where we want to go? Because I'm going to touch on Conte's comments, what he's made today in the press conference, and I'm going to ask you on that later on. But looking at this team of 8 players before the transfer window started, would you have been happy with all these?
Now, what I'm going to do before I start this, I'm going to add on, and people might not like this, and I don't care. I'm going to add in there Kulishevsky and Bentancur because they were bought at the end of January where no other big teams went out and bought players. They made a difference. They played for what? From February to the May, 3 months effectively, just coming and thrown in. So they made a difference to us. I think people were expecting, this is why I think people are a little bit disappointed. They're expecting a lot of these signings that Conte bought, or the team bought, the club bought, to go straight in the team. Had Basuma gone straight in and dislodged somebody else, I'd have said, yeah, he's a starting 11. Had Spence come in, dislodged Emerson, yeah, he's a starting 11 player. We've seen that Perisic has kind of done that. Longley, if he'd have come in, disposed of Ben Davies and taken his place, we'd have said, oh, we've got 4 or 5 players that we bought. They're all in the first team. Now we're looking like, but they haven't. But Conte said he's very surprised that teams just throw players straight in. So that tells me he's got an organized way of doing stuff. These players have to wait their turn. These players have to follow his methods. They have to see how things are played out. They have to wait. They have to wait until he decides that they're ready. If that's the case, we might not see some of these players. We might not see the likes of Spence. We might not see, a lot of Longley. But that means, to me, we don't know if they're good enough because we don't see them. We've seen players like Steven Bergwijn brought to the club, didn't get opportunities and then left. And we're all saying, oh, he's rubbish. But he's gone to Ajax and doing bits. We can't keep doing this about, sometimes we have to take a little bit more of a look at what's going on. Certainly the club have bought players for the future. That Udogie and Spence are definitely 2 that they bought for the future. But I reckon Jed Spence could play now. Don't know.
Do you know what? Every single one of them players can play now, apart from the goalkeeper, obviously, because Lloris
100%.
But yeah, every single one of them, right? Now, the way I see it, if we look at the bench at the end of last season, actually, let's not look at the bench because Conte never even looked at the bench at the end of last season, right? You look at this now, that's 7 players there that can straight away, well, forget Romero, he's a starter, but the rest of them makes that bench look hell of a lot stronger, right?
Of course.
Now, my biggest worry, and I said this the other day, that I will say what I feel. My biggest worry is we knew in the last season we needed a right wing back, a left wing back. We needed an attacking midfielder. We needed maybe more depth in midfield. Harry Kane needed a person to replace when he's not fit or he needs a rest. And the most important thing that we've all been crying out window after window, we need centre backs. We need centre backs. Now, them lot down the road, and I don't mean the team from Woolwich, I mean the ones from West London, they've gone and bought Koulibaly. They've gone and bought Fofana. So they've spent massive on players.
Cucurella as well.
Cucurella. Not necessarily best players, but they've gone and actually spent money and they've said, we need defenders. Let's go and buy them. They've got them. Mm-hmm. Manchester City, for God's sake, I've got 400 defenders, centre-backs, and they've just gone and bought Akanji. Mm-hmm. Not that they need him, but they want him. Pep's just turned around and said, I want another centre-back, class centre-back coming in. Laporta gets injured. Within a day, they've gone and bought Akanji. We've been crying out for a centre-back day in, day out. And who have we got? Langley on loan. And that's it. So, for me, right, I'm going to talk about it now. I've listened to Conte's interview today. And he has actually said, this is more about depth of the squad. I haven't got the quality of players that I wanted, hence the word I wanted. And I think Spence, he's referring to Spence there. He's a club buy. However, we are distance apart from Man City and Liverpool and teams like that. I will need another 3 windows. Now, number 1, is he going to be around for them 3 windows? Number 2, if this is the kind of players he's going to end up getting in the 3 windows, after them 3 windows, are we going to be back to Groundhog Day and where he turns around and says, well, I didn't want them players. I was
Listen,
giving them players.
I think there's a lot of factors here. For me, one of the factors is some of this could be mind games as well. Could this be a part of Conte's mind games for the players? He's kind of saying not necessarily that you're all good enough and challenging them. We see what happened last season when that happened. It challenged the players. We're on an unbeaten run from all the way through from that Burnley game all the way through to now. So something's happened mentally that he's able to trigger something. So it might be part of this mind game business. With regards to some of these players, though, again, you look at them on the bench and you'd think they are going to make a difference to us. They are going to make a huge difference. But again, what I don't understand is why we have to see late substitutions so late and why we can't see changes made a little bit earlier for some of these players to come in so that we know come the Champions League games next week and the games are coming twice a week that we can rely on these players. You know, Conte said, I've got to trust these players. He didn't trust half the bench last season. He's surely got to trust more of these players now because he's been part of buying them. He might not have wanted all of them, but we can't just let him ride roughshod and get everybody he wants because if he does decide to go, we might be left with players that we can't get rid of. And that's the sort of the problem we've got as well. We've not got rid of players. We've got them off on loan. We still have to sell, and that's going to have to balance the books as well, Sid.
You know what? I totally agree with you because the thing is, like you said, right? Last season, when you looked at the bench, he wasn't happy with the bench at all. But now, when you look at this, right? The Zuma's come in. For me, he should be a starter, number one. Richarlison's come in, right? On form at the moment, we've got 2 wingers that are not on form. He should be playing.
There you go.
Our right back situation is diabolical. Spence should get in, right?
At least Doherty should get in to see because Doherty was playing well at the end of last season, unless he's not fit again. But he's been on the bench for the last 3 games, so he must be fit, surely.
Exactly. And then Perisic started 100% because he trusts in him, right? And he plays him. Langley's not even got a look in yet, and you've bought a left centre back, probably one of the best passers of the balls in the defence that we've got at the moment. And for the past 5 games, we're crying out for somebody who can pass the ball because the 3 at the back we've got at the moment, they cannot really pass a ball, let alone long passes to start attacks and stuff like that. He's the one who apparently can do it. He's not even got a minute, I don't think. So I don't understand, right?
So the other thing I would just add, just quickly, Conte did actually say as part of that interview that he was happy with the windows. Some parts of it, he's happy. Yeah. He did want us to say that, there's more that needs to be done. I get that. But if you think about it, not every team got what they wanted. Chelsea were after so many players. They got gazumped. Do you know? Arsenal was saying that they were after Tielemans. Tielemans never saw that happening. You know, they got a couple of players, but because their players have gone into their first team and affected it and they're unbeaten, people are now saying that's why everybody's jumping up. Zinchenko. Would we have said we wanted Zinchenko before the window started? We wouldn't have wanted Zinchenko. I was like toss up between Richarlison and Jesus. I didn't mind if we got either or. I like Richarlison's attitude, but I do like Jesus because he's a player that presses from very busy. Both of them play for Brazil, so you know that they're both quality players, in my opinion. But we wouldn't have been unhappy with Richarlison coming straight into the team because I would have thought, he deserves it. So we've just got to wait. We've got to be patient. If after the next few weeks we don't see a lot of rotation and then Conte starts to say, oh, well, I can't trust him, then we've got a problem. We really have, because then it means that all of that window was a waste of time. And somebody's telling lies somewhere down the line as well.
This is it. And Conte's not the type of person to just sit there and not say anything. He will say what's on his mind and he'll say it, simple as. Before we move on to the next section, let's have a quick look at the comments in this section. Dino so saying, yo, Sid, did you mention your hunch, Son and Kane falling out, or are you still holding on to it? Let me tell you this. It's not Son and Kane falling out, my hunch. However, my hunch is still in my head. I don't know yet when I'm going to reveal it. I'm just assessing the situation. I'm watching what's going on. And like I said before, in my little head of Pep, it's falling into place. But keep a lookout. It will be coming out very soon. And boy, when it comes out, I'm telling you now, you're going to have to sit back, buckle in, and hold on tight because it's going to be an extravaganza. It's going to be a bombshell, as they say on Top Gear.
What the hell is this, boy? I don't know what the hell you've got in store for us.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's right. Yeah, 2 series back, Sid, you had breaking news. I have. I've always got breaking news, but unfortunately, we stopped buying players, so we can't have any more breaking news. But they will be coming. Don't worry. Don't worry. We can still get Ross Barkley for 3 months. No, thank you. Nottingham Forest. Yeah, or Everton. Maybe go back to Everton. Would you want him back, Sam? Would you want him, Sam?
Again, we're trying to get players that are once was. He was a once was. Dele Alli, a once was. We could take the risk and get him, and we might get 2 or 3 games out. But he's not going to fit Conte's system, so we're very unlikely to see him play a lot. And he's just going to take up space on the bench, getting paid for doing nothing. No,
Agree. JC, good evening, Paxton Road. And now for the January transfer window links, rumours, and usual bullshit. JC, you forgot one thing as well. Copy and paste. Because a lot of them, all they do is copy and paste. And then Sky Sports turn around and say, sources. Oh, sources. Yes, the sources that we've been Googling. David Clark, good evening. Hi from cloudy Leicester. Is that because of the weather or because of what's happening at Leicester City Football Club? Tottenham Andy, Conte didn't seem happy still, which is worrying. Still didn't seem 100% in press conference. Is it mind games, like you said, Sam, or is it genuinely he's not happy, but he doesn't want to bring it all out?
I still think Conte's a very, very smart man. You know, I know we all know he's a very smart man. All this sometimes I didn't quite catch that because the English is he understands everything. He uses the press, he uses all of the media to his advantage. And when he's not happy, he makes it known. He makes it very, very clear. He's always started with a lot of these things when I'm happy here. I'm happy with what we've got. But it's the but bit. Yeah, of course, every single Premier League manager would say, I'm happy, but some might say they're not happy at all because everybody would want as much as they can get. They want their club to spend 500 million. It ain't the real world. We've got to look. Have we plugged the majority of gaps that we had? I would say yes. Could we have done better? Yes. Did we get the essential centre-back we wanted? No, we haven't. So we are in a situation with that. But still, we've got a centre-back we ain't seen yet. He could be that dire replacement. Then we've not got too much of a problem because Sanchez has come in and done a bit of a job. Romero's coming back to fitness now. Our midfielders, come on now. If you compare them to some of the midfielders in the Premier League, I think we've got a very strong midfield. And the forward line. Who's better forward line? Probably City, probably Liverpool, would you say?
No, I wouldn't even say Liverpool. I think.
There you go. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%. David Clark is saying here, if you listen closely to Conte, he said Spence is for the future and he wants another signing at right wing back. Also, what he said, and he said it, and I think if you read between the lines, he's a club signing. He's not my signing. So, but I'm happy with that signing. So, whether we're going to get to see Spence play, I don't know. However, come January and it's not game time, I think he will be loaned to somebody.
You know what? I've got a sneaky feeling we might see Spence playing. I think we might see Spence playing as a right winger, as a forward player. I think in some games, Conte may just because he's got less responsibility defensively. Then he has to obviously fit into the system. But let's say 20 minutes to go, you want some pace because when he came on for the game against who was it? Was it Wolves? No, it was
no, the last game,
the away game. Forest. It was Forest. It was actually Forest when he came on. Sorry,
Forest,
his debut. His pace was frightening. Now imagine 20 minutes to go. You want to, get back into the game, or a team's chasing the game and you want to counter attack with pace. He's ideal. I just don't see why we just haven't seen more minutes. You can't give someone 7 minutes.
No, I agree with you, but it's the Conte way, isn't it? It's the Conte way. Right, that's the ins. So, outs we have. I'm going to brisk through this. So, Marcel Lavigna's gone yesterday. Harry Winks has gone on loan. Sergio Reguilon's gone on loan. Dane Scarlett's gone on loan. Toy Parrott's gone on loan. Josh Oluwayemi is gone on a free. Toby Omole's gone on a free. Jack Clark for 10 million. CCV, and that's not the 3 digits on the card, has gone for undisclosed. Bergwijn for 26.45 million. Joe Rodon, loan. Giovanni Lo Celso, loan. And Tanguy and Dembele, loan. So we've got rid of about 14, 15 players, which I think is fantastic. Fantastic bit of business. However, I don't know about you, but what's absolutely peed me off is the fact, right? Apart from Parrott and Scarlett, because they're youngsters and whatever, the three players that we need to get rid. I mean, Harry Winks, nothing against him. I think he's got a great move in Sampdoria, and I hope he does absolutely fantastic. Then the other two, GLC and then Dombele. Why have we loaned these players? Because they're going to come back to us, and they're going to be our players in the summer. So we then have to go through it all again. I know Lo Celso, he's got that deal where if somebody comes in January and is playing good enough, if a bid comes in, then they've got to match his bid, or we sell. But the other two, they're coming back on loan. So what pees me off is, why are we loaning these players? If you don't want them at your club, and Conte's already said that, get rid of them. Take a hit. I don't care. Take the hit, because we're going to be lumbered with them. And that's my massive gripe. And I can go on about this, but I'm not. I want just your thoughts on this one, Stan.
So again, we could look at this in two ways. We could say, yeah, take a hit, but that will eat into any money that we have to spend. It's just simple profit and loss. You know, it's business at the end of the day. We've got to remember this is still business. So the business that Daniel Levy and ENIC have always done is to balance the books. We know that. I don't think they want to take too many more hits on players. They took a hit on Aura. They've taken hits in the past on certain players who haven't, sold for as much as we bought them for. Ndombele on 200 grand a week. You cancel his contract. You're paying that dude a lot of money. Lo Celso, he's on 100 grand plus, isn't he? 100% definitely know he's on that sort of money. Nobody wants these players permanently. They want to take a loan risk. So the best of both worlds is the best that we can do. Certainly not the best of both worlds, the best that we can expect, because I would hope they would have negotiated deals where the other team who are loaning these players are paying some, if not all, of their wages, so we don't have to pay the wages. But I think we're just going to have this consistent loan. Do you want to go? No, it's too comfortably. I'm on 200 grand. Okay. Exactly. Can you go to France for a little while? Yeah, I'll play in France. Oh, I'm not too bothered now. That's what we're going to get from Tanguy, because he's not coming back into the fold. And Lo Celso, who knows? Who knows? I don't know.
Do you know what? I totally agree with you. But it's like you said, we've got rid of some of these players. They're not under, well, they are books in terms of still are players, but they're not at the club. So who knows, if they play well, we might get something at the end of the window. I don't know. Right. I just want to bring this one up from Terry Wright. And again, it's going back to, we've got the players, utilize them. If not, Gill's the prime example. Teams came in for him. He wanted to leave. We wanted to sell him. But then we turned around and said, or Conte turned around and said, every player now that I sell, I have a replacement. I want a replacement. 99%. This is, I don't know, but you can tell me if you want. This 99% deal that was done for a player to replace Gill. Who the hell was this 99% player? Because it never materialized. And then at the last minute, yesterday, it turned around and they said, the deal's not happening because we haven't found a replacement. So who was the 99% player that was done, deal, dusted? We were just waiting for whatever it was, and that's our replacement for Gill.
What happened? I think there's a couple of things I can think of. It was paper talk, and we weren't really in for anybody. Or the other thing is, remember, we were heavily linked with Zaniolo, and then he had that injury. And I maybe think that they were going for him, really going for him, even though we were like, why go for this player? He's injury prone, or certainly had 2 injuries that we don't think are going to be good for a player to have. And then he got the shoulder, was it shoulder injury that he got? Something like that.
Broke his shoulder. So I really think that the Spurs were very keen, but then you can't buy a player that's broke his shoulder and expect crowds and us as fans to say, oh yeah, we've got Zaniola. He's broke his shoulder. Plus he's had 2 ACLs. That's not good. That's not good PR. That's not good business anyway. So I don't know. I just don't think we were really in for any other player post Spence. I really don't. Yeah. I don't think. Do you know what? I totally agree with you. And I think we said it a couple of weeks ago on Sid Says, didn't we, that priority is Zaniolo, no matter what, who, and we compared a few players, Paqueta, we compared Maddison, and I did say that Zaniolo was his number one priority. He wanted that Zaniolo at all costs, and unfortunately, him breaking his shoulder made the decision for Antonio Conte. And I think I agree with you. After that, it was all a load of cobblers about who we're getting in.
Yeah,
I don't think we were going to get anyone in. Question: I want to. Mole Joe's put a question into Dinosaur, but I want to put it out to you and everybody else in the group. Do you think Jesus would have got in ahead of Kane?
No. Nobody was getting in ahead of Kane.
No.
Unless we got Haaland, and then that would have been, that would have been a problem. But nobody else, we've seen in world football, nobody else is going to come in ahead of Kane. Kane he's a top striker anyway. Let's not get it twisted. But what we do want with Kane is the ability for him to be rested and put somebody else in who we think they're still going to get, let's say, 80% of the amount of goals that he would have got. If they were to get 4 out of 5 of what he would get, we'd be happy. And I think Son would have filled that space had Kane gone in terms of up front. He wouldn't have got as many goals, but he would have, and then would have had to try and get somebody else. Or we go down a Liverpool route and just get 4 or 5 forwards, all of the same sort of ability, plus that one Salah who's maybe that, and then just rotate them. But
Conte's not going to do that, and we know that Conte's not going to
do that either. So we have to just we have to understand Conte likes a settled team. He's very organized, and once he's got his organized, if nothing's broken, he ain't going to change it just for the sake of it, unless injuries happen, yellow cards, red cards, or the physio say there's players on red line now.
100%. And my personal view on this is, if I'm Jesus, I get a phone call from Spurs and I get a phone call from Arsenal, I'm going to thinking, I ain't going to get in at Spurs ahead of Kane or maybe Son. Arsenal, I'm going straight in because they haven't got a recognised striker because Aubameyang's gone, Lacazette went. I'm getting straight in at Arsenal, right? Secondly, and I think, which is quite important, second point, they probably offered a hell of a lot more dosh than Spurs would have done, and I can guarantee you that. His wages at Arsenal is probably more than what we would have offered or we're going to offer. So it's a no-brainer for him. It's an absolute no-brainer for him. I mean, all these rumours about, we were waiting for him, blah, blah, blah. I think we didn't. We knocked on the door and we probably said, hello, are you interested or whatever.
Yeah. Listen, this centre forward problem, this forward problem has been a problem for Spurs for a long time because of Harry Kane. Not necessarily, it's not Harry Kane's fault that he's so good. It's our fault as a club that we don't want to put somebody else on the bench that's of almost equal quality and pay for it. That's fair. With Richarlison, we have to also take into the fact he's got the right attitude. We've had players who've come, Harry Kane, I'm not going to get in ahead of him. So every time he's come on so far, the guy looks like he wants to just do his best. He wants to put in the effort. He's not sulking. This is what I'm saying. We've got the right player who, when any given moment, we can rely on him to come and be. That's why Everton fans were saying he was a godsend to them, because every single week they could say, yeah, Richarlison's going to give 100%. He was a fan's favourite. He's slowly becoming one of my favourite players because of his attitude. We have to take that into consideration, because not a lot of players would just say, yeah, I'm 60 million worth of player here and I'm just sitting on the bench. What's going on?
Yep. So that's the ins, that's the outs, that's the movers and shakers. Be like Top of the Pops now, isn't it? One final section, and we've gone over 30 minutes already, Sam. Let's have a look at the big spenders in the Premier League. So Chelsea, obviously, 278.4 million. Manchester United have spent 227.4 million. All of it's probably gone to Ajax. West Ham United have spent 179.1 million, which I was quite shocked at. I didn't think they spent anything, but they have. We've only spent 172 million. Nottingham Forest, for all the 500 players they bought, have spent 157.2 million. Manchester City have only spent 128.8, and Newcastle have spent 123 million pounds. So
it's
not to say we haven't spent a lot of money.
Spent money. The two surprising ones there for me are West Ham and Forest. Forest, because they've just come up, that's a lot of money for a come-up team to spend. If they get it wrong and they go back down, that's going to take a lot to sort out unless they've got some really good deals in place with players. West Ham, again, they've thrown the dice. If they don't get into Europe with spending that money, they're going to have a problem. The other teams are all commercially and also owner-wise very wealthy. Chelsea got money. Manchester United, we know they got money. Commercially, they got money. Manchester City, shake owners. You know, Newcastle, shake owners. So they've got money, so you would expect to see them. The fact that we're in here, 172 million, and you can't see the likes of Arsenal in there. You can't see the likes of Liverpool in there. What? I just don't understand the actual, it's shit window, it's this, that, the board's a problem, they're eating out. I've done shows, you've done shows with me where we've shown how much money we've spent. It's just not been spent wisely. It's not always been correctly. Let's hope it has been now, but let's see the players play first before making that judgment.
100%. Totally agree with you. Right, so let's have a look at some other comments in here. Brian Heel is saying good window initially, but overall slightly disappointed. Sean Moran is saying we needed a centre-back and a creative midfielder. Conte wasn't a happy man at his press conference today with the Spurs board. I don't think Conte's a happy man sort of in general, but again, it could be mine happy. Paul Mansbridge is saying Conte not happy. David Clark is saying we spent 127 million net and we have 8 players on loan on big wages, long contracts, and they are coming back. Exactly what. Yep, this is the problem. JC, they only look half match fit to me, judging by 5 games in. Do you know we
problem as well?
Yeah. No, I was going to say something. We went away to Korea and they put them through this. Again, I think that was just all for the cameras and whatever, this training regime that they're making them run the 2 pitches, blah, 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 blah. All our players are come back. They're going to be fit. We're going to ram teams up after 75 minutes. We're going to do this, that, the other. Judging by it now, we're not that fit. We don't look that fit. You know,
I'm hoping that ours is a one of them fitness, which is gradual, because they've had such a high pre-season. You get the dip off and then you gradually increase, and then you should sustain that throughout the season, where other teams might have the fitness now and then they'll tail off. I'm hoping that that's the case with us. But certainly, I thought Forest were more energetic than us. I thought Wolves were more energetic than us. And even for the first 20 minutes, I thought Southampton were more energetic than us. And we've seen the games against West Ham and Chelsea. They're always going to be London derbies. But it was a little bit, where's this high energy? Where's this, where the fittest team in the world, in the universe? It didn't look like that for me.
Exactly. Agree. Tottenham Andy is saying here, I think you've got to look at it as it was a window for depth and also to push players on to be better and to say, look at you now. You now have players who can and will take your place, so you better put in a performance. We said that, didn't we? We did say that the bench, looking at that bench every last season, Conte was looking at the bench and straight back and thinking, nah, forget it. Now he can look at that bench and say, okay, but my gripe is he's still looking at that bench and he's only seeing Richarlison, nobody else.
At the moment. So this is what I'm saying about the Spence. I think Spence, if he gets on, I think he could get an opportunity as right forward. Don't think left side. I think he's a better on the right side, in my opinion. When Lucas comes back, we've obviously got him as an option. But then we are Richarlison. So if you think about it, it's Richarlison, Lucas, and I'm going to throw Spence in there as 3 forwards. Perisic, again, remember, he can play in that area as well. So if we had to, we could push Ben Davies in there. We could Session in there and push Perisic to one of them sides as well. So it just depends on how you do it. And this is what I'm saying. Conte sometimes has to roll the dice. I want to see him take a risk. You know what? Fuck it. I've got to throw him in there. Not this. No. It's got to be rigid. If he's not part of this plan, no, he's not playing. Because some of these managers have just thrown players in there. We got to see some of that as well for us, surely.
Agree. Paul Manbridge is saying good players in, but not enough. Dyer got his hands full tomorrow with Mitrovic. Yeah, we said that yesterday on the preview show. We will start seeing them very soon. Games every 3 days. This is it. This is where now the squad depth is going to come into the equation. And he's already said he's going to have to rest Kane sooner or later. Son's already been rested for the first 5 games anyway, as it stands. So Son's going to come good. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. Big up everyone. Terry Wright. Longley needs to start tomorrow. Time to give Davis a breather. Yeah, totally agree with you. JC saying here, couldn't he start Langley at left centre back, move Davis to left back, and Perisic to right wing back because Emerson offers nothing.
But we still got Sessegnon. I think Sessegnon's okay. Don't get me wrong. Sessegnon's not going to be, for me, the first choice, but he's already shown he's popped up with a goal. He's probably been unlucky that he's got Perisic and Emerson ain't got nobody. But I thought Emerson did have the competition. Why is Emerson getting the opportunities to play all the time and nobody else is coming in? That's doing my head in. That's doing my head in. But I'm also gonna add to that just to balance it up. Emerson has done all right because he's in the winning team and hasn't lost this season. So you can't just say, "Oh, throw him out."
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. Terry Wright is saying, I don't think Conte is going to play Spence, or Hill until there's an injury. Conte is stubborn and did not want these players and does not trust them. Our bench is very thin. We will see. We will see. Like you said, once the games come thick and fast and injuries start occurring, then he's gonna have to. Moljo, to be honest, I'm getting a bit fed up with hearing about Conte. Is he happy? Is he not? Either come out and say either way, then get on with managing, or pee off and get Potter in.
Get on with managing these players. If you look at the squad we've got, if you look at the first 11, and then if you look at about 4, 5, 6 players after that, yes, we've got a bit of a gap at centre back. I know that, but teams have got gaps. Chelsea haven't got forwards at the moment. They haven't got a central striker. They've got gaps in there. Liverpool, they couldn't get the midfielder. They went out and got Melo. They don't know how they're going to do. Arsenal, if you said if they have an injury to certain key players, they've got depth issues. I don't think we're any. For me, it's frustrating because I can see where we've got the real potential, and we'll see. We'll see now. Champions League, we're going to see.
This is it, and I think the most important thing is, compared to last season, now we've got depth in the squad. We've got players that I potentially can see coming on and making impact on games. And it's players that fans have seen play. They're not youngsters. They're not the ones that from under 23 or whatever. It's actual players that could come in. So it'll be an interesting one. It'll be a very interesting one. Right. So got 30 odd people watching. Please just smash that like button. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. And before we conclude, I want to hear everyone's opinion and a mark out of 10 if you want. But overall, are we happy with the summer transfer window? Sam,
I'm going to say, and it's a bit of a cheat, I know, but I'm going to add over the overall windows that we've had, because the 2 players that we bought in January where nobody else was doing business should make up part of what we've done. However, if we're just looking specifically at this window, summer window, I would say I am happy with it, but I'm yet to prove whether or not these players have got it, because I don't know until they play for us. You can see all the highlights. We can see all the good parts about any team, about any player. But until we actually see them perform for us, we don't know. So, yes, I'd say 7 out of 10 for me.
7 out of 10 for you. I think somebody else is on here who said 7 out of 10. I can't find it. Here we go. JC saying 6 out of 10. Dino Dinosaur saying Sam, Chelsea got Obama. I don't give them flying. I don't care. Good for them. Let them have it. I don't care. You know what? I don't think he's going to do anything anyway.
He's on a money heist now. He's on a money heist.
Yeah, of course he is. I mean, that interview yesterday when they tried to follow him and he was just being very brazen about his answers, and his security was trying to put hands on the camera and that. I'm like, do you know what, mate? That's probably why Arsenal didn't want you as well, because of your attitude and whatever. You're not better and bigger than who you think you are. He thinks he's better than Neymar and everybody else. So good luck to him at Chelsea. That's my rant about him. Terry Wright saying 6 out of 10. Brian Healy saying 6 out of 10. Paul Mansbridge is saying 7 out of 10. For me, I would say at the beginning of that window, and when I was doing all the Sid Says and everything, I was really happy that we started buying players in. Overall, I think I'd probably give it a 6.5/7 because Richarlison came in, so he's a good attacking option. Perisic came in, top player, won stuff. Spence is a youngster, up and coming. I still think we should have loaned him out and then bought him back next season like we've done with Udoji. Fraser Foster is a keeper. We had to bring in Premiership experience, so at least in the cup games and stuff like that, we know we got a keeper that, and he's massive, he's 6'7" or something. So yeah, Langley, obviously, I don't know. We need to see him play, and I'm in your boat with this, Sam. Some of these players now, I want to see them play game time. Basuma's a cracking player. We all know what he was like at Brighton. So between 6.5 and 7, I would say. We were never going to get these big 70, 80, 90 million pound players. We discussed this many times, and we did say it was going to be smoke screen, or he doesn't want to come to Spurs because he's happy in Italy, or he's looking for a bigger club, or blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Who knows? We will never know. Let's see.
Look how much money Man United had to spend to get 2 players. They had to spend 100 million to get Anthony, and they spent, 50, 60 million to get Martinez. Do you know what I mean? That was on 2 players, but they were desperate. Now, people say, well, that's what big clubs should do. If you're going to get a player, you should spend 100 million. But then you don't get that many players. We're not Man United. We spent nearly 60 million on Richard. Well, I think it's good business, whatever you do. Perisic, like you said, has come in. We're hoping Basuma should be a first-team player, in my opinion. And then it's all dependent on what Longlet does, because I think he should be in the starting 11 as well. Richarlison, again. So we've got 4 players there, potentially even 5 if you think about Spence on that. So I don't know.
I know.
I'm happy enough.
Muldo's saying 7.5 out of 10, but they need more than 7 minutes. That's correct. We've said that. Henry Sagor saying 5 out of 10. And finally, Dinosaur Sid, Obama got a fractured jaw, home breaking, cannot play for 3 weeks. Yeah, you know what? I've got to sympathize with that. You know, the fact that someone broke into his house and fractured his jaw, it's absolute cowardly from whoever's done it. And hope they get him and bang him up.
Yeah, no one deserves that.
No one deserves that.
Any football rivalries aside, that's just shocking.
Exactly. Whether you play for Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, West Ham, Tottenham, anyone you play for, no one deserves their house to be broken into, especially if his family and kids and everything were at home as well. So wish him a speedy recovery, you know. Yeah, that's all I can say. We wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully he'll get back to business within 3 weeks. So he's got 3 weeks to recover in that. Right. That transfer window done. No more transfer talk. No more we needed to get this, that, the out. Everyone's had it out. We've had a shout, Tears for Fears. We let it all out, because these were the things that we need to talk about. So it's all done and dusted. Sid Says concludes tonight, unfortunately, because there's nothing to do about transfer. However, Ask Sid will be back within a couple of weeks. So if you've got any questions, anything that need answering, and I know everybody will have, about why Spence not playing, Richarlison should be getting more than 7 minutes, Langley needs to be playing at left centre back, why is Bissouma not starting, what's happened to Son, you know, everything, I'll be back. And hopefully, Sam will be my sidekick for that one. JC asking us, Sid, give us a prediction for tomorrow score-wise. I think I said 2-1, didn't I, Sam? You
said 2-1. I said 1-0.
Yeah. You said 1-0. I said 2-1. And we both said it's going to be a very, very tough game. Mitrovic is going to be a handful. They brought in a few players. Dan James is being signed by them as well. Kuzava's been signed. But we're still saying Spurs to win at home because we're at home. So, 2-1 from me, 1-0 from Sam.
And we expect some players to be started that we haven't seen as well this season. I expect that tomorrow.
Absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure having you for the last couple of months, Sam. Thoroughly enjoyed the show, and I'm sure a lot of you have enjoyed the show as well every Friday with me and Sam. Thank you for participating with us. Thank you for endearing with myself and Sam. And again, as we always say, smash that like button, give us a follow, and subscribe to the channel. Sam, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Also to look out for the reaction show that will be hosted by Deji, the Arsenal Slayer Spurs. So look, that'll be just after final whistle. Final thoughts. I think we could look too deeply into certain things. We're unbeaten this so far this season. 2 away games to 2 London derbies, to 2 London rivals. And yeah, we're sitting third. Come on, Spurs. Come on, you Spurs.
Absolutely. And also watch out for Judge Jody on Sunday or Monday with with the player ratings. Like I said, it's been an absolute pleasure spending it with you guys and ladies every Friday evening. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. And as always, big up the Spurs tomorrow. Let's the 3 points come back from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. If you go into the game, enjoy the game, sing your heart out. And as always, come on, you Spurs.